Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Injury Law Pod. I am your host, Eric Bartlett, 28-year personal injury lawyer, and this is the podcast where we talk about all things personal injury law related. And up today, we have a kind of an interesting discussion. The World Cup comes to Kansas City next year, and this is a major event in the world of soccer that it's a really significant event for a city to be a host site for this. And with that comes a lot of planning to ensure that the city is ready for tons of fans coming in. And this is going to be a major influx. It's going to be a major economic opportunity for the city. And with that comes a lot of logistical planning so that all of these people that are going to be moving around the city can do so efficiently and safely. And so today we're going to talk about not only what the city of Kansas City is doing, but we're going to dial down a little bit and look at an example of an unsafe street and what goes into trying to rectify a situation like that, make it safer, look at the various ways that a city goes about trying to prevent harm from occurring because of either, again, a dangerous condition of something they have control over, or maybe a design situation that's not working well, that's leading to more accidents. And so we're just going to break it all down and look at it as a local neighborhood issue and a global event challenge, because that's exactly what the World Cup brings to Kansas City. It's a global event. And so we're going to look at how Missouri and Kansas law apply here. We're going to look at personal injury litigation, and we're going to look at city planning and how all of these intersect with each other ahead of such a big event. And so to start off, there's a local story here recently about 39th Street and Hyde Park in that area, and how it's a 39th Street has been considered a pretty dangerous street, especially for pedestrians. There have been 4 serious fatal crashes per year on 39th Street since 2015. So obviously there's a problem there. And the residents there are obviously pushing the city to do something different. They're talking about pushing for road diets where they restrict down the area for vehicles to drive on the roadway, allowing for bike lanes, pedestrian traffic, things like that. They're pushing for better crosswalks at those intersections in that area, and for traffic calming, ways to attempt to divert traffic so that it doesn't experience as much traffic in the first place. And again, there's emotions there with the neighbors in that area. One parent was quoted as saying, as a parent, it's hard to talk about because they have kids that are out there that are having to utilize these streets, these crosswalks and things. And with the danger that is ever present based on the historical data, it's a real issue for these people. And so the plan is to have the first phase lower 39th Street down to fewer lanes, create a center turn lane, and have better markings on the street, all in an effort to provide a more safe atmosphere on 39th Street in the Hyde Park area. Now, when we look at something like this, we have to look at what is the city's responsibility and what is their potential liability if it's found that their roadways, their intersections, whatever that looks like, are dangerous and are something that should have been corrected. So what exactly can a city be held responsible for? Generally speaking, when we're talking about a government, there's something called sovereign immunity. And again, I think I've talked about this in the past, and it goes back historically to the idea that you could not sue the king in England for anything. And that's called sovereign immunity. So that translated down to our governmental structures to where, generally speaking, the government is immune from liability. But Missouri lawmakers on the Missouri side have specifically put in place some exceptions to where you can make a claim against a governmental entity. And one of those is the dangerous condition of public property. So a city can find itself responsible and liable for dangerous roadways, dangerous intersections, things of that nature. A few cases specifically on this issue. There was a 2023 case called Bruckerhoff versus City of Perryville. And in that case, there was no crosswalk for pedestrians. That was found to be a dangerous condition. And there, the court said the city could be liable for that situation. There was another case, Huafang versus Kansas City. That was a 2007 case. There was a poorly marked crosswalk that can be more dangerous than none at all. Because the problem is, if pedestrians think that they're in a crosswalk in which they have the right of way to cross the street and it's not well marked, the court there said that can be more dangerous than not having anything there at all. Because if you don't have a crosswalk at all, pedestrian is very likely going to be extra cautious when choosing to cross the street. In another case, Dorlawn versus Springfield from 1992, it was shown that cities are liable if a hazard exists long enough on the roadway or in the design of the roadway. That's called constructive notice, which basically means there were enough accidents, there were enough problems that the city should have known that whatever was going on there with that roadway, with that intersection, was dangerous, and they can be on the hook for that. And then finally, going way back to 1980, a case of Owen versus Independence, City of Independence, the court there held municipalities can be held liable under federal law for constitutional violations. So the takeaway from some of the case law that's out there is that city design choices carry real legal consequences. And so cities need to be mindful of their property and their roadways, their intersections, their street markings, their street signs, all those things. They cannot just put something out there and hope for the best. And again, this ties into what's coming ahead for us here in 2026, when we're going to have this massive influx of people who are needing to move around the city and obviously wanting to do so in a safe manner. So Kansas City currently has a few programs in place. They have something called Vision Zero, and I've talked about this before on previous podcasts, but the goal of Vision Zero and the implementation of these road diets is to eliminate traffic deaths by the year 2030. And again, they're already implementing road diets on 31st Street. They've narrowed the lanes, they've added bike lanes, and they've put in measures to slow traffic down. Again, there's been resident involvement in a lot of this. There's been requests through the city's helpline of 311 or their website, MyKCMO. There's also been advocacy from Bike Walk KC, which is an organization that works to help make roads safer for bicyclists, pedestrians, those that are using the streets, not in a car. But there's been this policy shift of a legal and moral duty to design safe streets proactively, not wait till a problem is showing up time and time again. The idea is get ahead of it, prevent injury and prevent death before it ever occurs. So again, what's going on here in 2026 with the World Cup? Kansas City will host fans from all over the world. This isn't a United States deal. This is a global event. And so safe mobility is both a logistics and liability issue. And so there are full-time safety teams involving the Kansas City Police Department, the fire department, law enforcement reserves, and even federal funding requests to ensure that there is going to be enough public safety in place when this mass of people lands in our city. As far as transit goes, getting people around, the city plans on leasing 200 buses to help move fans around the city so that everybody's not trying to use cars and things like that, which would just clog the city streets in a very bad way. So they're leasing extra buses. There's going to be streetcar extended hours, and there's going to be park and ride systems in place so that you can park a car out, you can come down in the streetcar, again, utilizing mass transportation to move people in mass and not have them all individually trying to get places, because again, that would simply be a mess. And at the same time, there are highway improvements going on. Traffic monitors, message boards, and congestion planning are all in the works to help facilitate traffic, get people from one place to the other with the least amount of headaches and in the most safest way possible. There's also some urban redevelopment going on. There's a South Loop Park deck going over I-670, reconnecting downtown. And there's going to be new rules for surface parking lots in the entertainment district area of Kansas City, that downtown area, that'll require additional lighting, cameras, security, and insurance. Obviously, all in the effort of preventing crime, because when you have an event like this, it's a very rich opportunity for criminals to try and take advantage of the situation. So again, there's lots of planning going on in all aspects to create a safe, efficient environment when this event takes place. Now let's look a little bit at personal injury and liability in big events. From a city standpoint, when you have something like this going on, you have to plan for crowd safety and you have to plan for traffic control. And if you don't, as a city, if you do not have the appropriate measures in place, if they're found to be inadequate, something happens, the city can face injury claims. There's no question about it. And as I've talked about before, Missouri and Kansas are both comparative fault states. And there's always going to be a comparison between the person that was injured and if they're making a claim against the city for some defect, dangerous condition, whatever that looks like. A jury, if it went all the way to a trial, would be able to assess the fault between the two parties. And so that's always key to remember, because just because there's a dangerous condition doesn't automatically mean the person that was injured is going to get a recovery against the city. They could end up being found 100% at fault if for some reason they're crossing a street when they shouldn't be. That's probably going to be on them. It's not going to be on the city. But again, if it's something that's shown, there's been numerous similar accidents in the past and the city should have known there was a problem there, then that's a different story. But KC has to invest in safety. They have an incentive to do, not just for tourism, but to reduce their risk exposure. And again, this is a global event. Kansas City, they don't want to be known as a crime-ridden city, an unsafe city, whatever that looks like. So they have that definite incentive to make sure they're ahead of the game, so to speak. But on the other hand, they have to be taking proactive measures so that this doesn't turn into some legal nightmare where lots of people are hurt, things happen, and now all of a sudden they face a lot of lawsuits from something that should have been a positive experience for the city and for the residents of the city. But again, as we've seen, Missouri law has definitely held cities to a standard for ensuring that there isn't dangerous conditions. And if there are, they need to be taken care of so that people don't get hurt. So, as we wrap up this episode, we have to keep in mind that safe streets matter from neighborhood crosswalks to international events. And again, this particular situation that we've got ahead of us here with the World Cup coming is just the perfect example of what a city can do to plan for the safe movement and just the safety in general of the people that are going to be here. Not only residents, but again, all the people that are coming in from all over the world. And if you're concerned about what this looks like, or you have a neighborhood concern, things like that, you should attend city meetings. You should advocate for better design, get connected to those groups that are working for better designs, safer roads, things like that. You can file a request with the city helpline 311 or go online, my KCMO. You can support the Vision Zero efforts, making streets safer for those that are using the streets not in cars. And Kansas City right now has a chance to show the world what safe, people first streets look like, starting right here at home. And they could be a shining example of taking proactive measures to prevent injury, prevent death, creating safe streets, creating good transportation methods to eliminate all of the problems that can come along when you have many people utilizing the roadways as pedestrians, bicyclists, on electric scooters, whatever that looks like. And as always, if you've been hurt in any type of a situation where you think the city might be responsible for something to do with the condition of their property, whether it's the roadway, whether it's an intersection, a crosswalk, whatever that looks like, you're always welcome to reach out, give us a call. It's always a free call. We're happy to investigate it and see if we can help you. And until the next episode, as always, be safe and be well.